Good morning. My name is Shadi Henrico. I'm the Conservation Canine Coordinator at Endangered Wildlife Trust, and I'm going to give a talk about detection dogs today. So the presentation will begin shortly. In the meanwhile, a few house rules. Should you have any questions, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Please don't raise your hand, and I will try to answer as many questions as if possible at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to talk about detection dogs. Let me just figure out. Okay, discussion topics. So what is a detection dog? We're going to discuss what is a detection dog. And please, the breeds that I've chosen to talk about, the methods that I've chosen is just in general, more or less. It's not a hard and fast rule, black and white. There's many breeds that we can use. There's many different ways of teaching a dog to do detection. So this is not a hard and fast, we only use this way. So we're going to discuss a detection dog, and then from there we're going to go to the journey from a puppy to a detection dog. Training of a detection dog, how dogs smell. It's a small little animated video that is quite interesting. The deployment of our detection dogs and the general welfare of these special canines that we work with. So what is a detection dog? So by definition, a detection dog or a sniffer dog, as also known, is a dog that is trained to use its senses to detect substances. Now for a dog, the best sense is the sense of smell. They can search for explosives, illegal drugs, wildlife scat, wildlife contraband, currency, blood, and the list is endless. So these dogs are really a help for us in many, many ways. So the journey from a puppy to a detection dog. So first of all, we will choose an appropriate breed. And as I've said before, I've picked 4 breeds that I like to use, but there are still a lot of different breeds that you can still use for this detection work. We will then follow the list, how to raise your detection puppy, socialization, crate training, just an example. There's lots of things that we can do with the puppies. With the training wise, we're going to do playing to training. So all young dogs will start, training is fun. That is the main purpose. The dog must have fun. Basic obedience, detection training, how we will start with a puppy for detection training. And then once again, there's different ways of doing this. How a dog smell, the certification process, and then eventually deploying our dog into the world of detection. So choose an appropriate breed. And I know many of you has got your own personal preferences. Your own little fluffy at home must be the best detection dogs, because whenever you open the can, the tin food or the can of food, the dog knows immediately it's time to have lunch or dinner. So the 4 breeds that I've chosen, top left, the Belgian Shepherd. Just for interesting sake, there's 4 types of shepherds, Belgian Shepherds, but we use the Malinois. So on the Malinois, there's lots of things that we can say. They function very well in extreme environments, in the low veld or in the bush where it's extremely hot. They tend to work without any problem in the heat. It's a very sensitive breed, although people like to tag it as like the crocodile or the Malinator, also known as that. It's a very good breed to work with, but also this breed, if you want to have a Malinois as a puppy, as a pet dog, please do your homework. Don't just get the dog and not give it a job. They like to work. Second one, the German Shepherd, also known as a multidiscipline working dog. So the Shepherds has also been working many years ago. The police only used Shepherds. They were used as guide dogs. Initially, they were bred for herding sheep, believe it or not. The Labrador, the all too famous Labrador, happy dog, friendly, and they just want to please. They work very well in detection, and there's a lot of them being used overseas as well. So you'll also see, if you follow the people overseas, they use a lot of Labradors as well. Then our Springer Spaniel. I always refer to the Springer Spaniel as a nose with a little bit of dog behind it. They work endlessly, very happy dogs, working as well for search and rescue. and many other disciplines in detection. So the journey from a puppy to a detection dog. So we have now chosen a breed that we would like to raise, and how are we going to raise this detection puppy? Socialization, the big word. So puppies has got a window period of until about 16 weeks. We can expose the puppy to as much as possible new things for them to learn. So why is socialization important? So a detection dog should be able to work in various environments with many distractions. For example, should your dog one day be working in the airport, they should be exposed to the airport, all the different people, noises, trolleys, different surfaces, where this dog is going to work eventually. So how do we socialize our detection puppies? Like I've just said, we expose the puppy to many different environments, also to other dogs. That's very important. So if they learn as a young dog or a puppy, they can play with other puppies. It's not such a big issue. It's much easier training them amongst other dogs in a working environment. One of the biggest things that I saw, small children, I'm talking about 3-4-year-old children, we must expose dogs to them because if they only see a child once they're 6 or 7 months old, some of them might not have the ideal reaction. Children run and scream, so if they're used to running, screaming children, it's just better for the dog to work. Trolleys, prams, moving objects, surfaces, for example, tiles, plastic, grids, stairs, noises. There's so many things that we can put into this socialization period. It's a never-ending way to do this. So why is it important to raise our puppy in the environment that they're going to work? So for example, you are going to use a dog in a reserve. The dog should be used to the wildlife, the smells, the elephants, the impalas, the lions, so that once they, for instance, doing tracking and there's a herd of impala running, they don't react or hunt or chase any other animals that can be quite detrimental for their well-being. Okay, and then as well in the socialization, what we also cover is the traveling and crate training. So what is crate training? As you see on the little photo, there's a dog happy in its crate. So the crate teaches the puppy its safe place. We can shut down and relax, and that is the place like a small den where they can sleep or just stay in. And why do we crate train our puppies? Well, first of all, once your puppy is crate trained and maybe it reaches the age of 1 or 2 years old, it unfortunately should go to the vet. At the vet clinic, they will also stay in a small confined space if they should have an operation. So if they're used to the small confined space, it's much better for them to cope with that. Traveling with our working dogs, it's also important to be crate trained because most vehicles, they've got a crate-like kennel, and they should be used to jumping in and out, and this is the way that they're going to travel, going to work or back from work. Okay, so we've chosen the breed, we are raising a detection dog, and now we want to start training the young dog. So, like I've said, training is playing, playing is training. So we can use a toy, you can use a ball, you can use a Kong, any different toy that you'd like, and we will encourage the puppy to search for the toy. So because we've chosen a breed with a very high drive, we prefer to choose dogs with high drives. It makes it easier for us, easier for the dog, so we will play with the toy, throw the ball, while the ball is, while we're throwing the ball, the puppy chases after the toy, brings back the toy, and you can throw another toy. This is building drive in the puppy. We can even go so far as throwing the toy in a felt or field where you can't see it, holding the puppy, letting go, and this will build the drive for searching for the toy. So when we say hiding and finding, hiding the toy encourages a natural search instinct. So you'll see the puppies get more and more excited, and more often you do this, the more eager they are to go and find their toy. Okay, obedience. We also need obedience in our working dogs. The main reason for that is to have control over our dogs. So teaching the puppy to respond to commands. Yet again, I like to use positive reinforcement. I like to use treats. Some people like to use toys. That is just one way of teaching obedience. So positive reinforcement, a lot of people has been going on about positive reinforcement. They actually did a study to prove that a dog that is being trained with positive reinforcement has better reaction. That's also debatable. We can discuss that as well. In my personal opinion, dogs that's been trained with positive reinforcement has got a better outcome. That's only my opinion. So what we do, we will reward desired behavior. So we will take food, for example, or treat, from the nose over the head until the dog's in a sit position, and you will then either use a clicker or just tell the dog sit, and with this way we will mark the position that we want the dog for us to do. So the sit, the down, the stand, all the basic stuff, even walking at heel next to you, we will start with treats and we will obviously phase out the treats as we go along. Okay, and then the journey from a puppy to a detection dog, and then detection dog training imprinting. So imprinting as well, there's many, many ways to do imprinting. As you can see on the photo on the right top corner, this dog is watching his Kong, waiting for the other Kong for a reward. So obviously he has been trained for just to focus onto his toy for the next toy. So what we'll do is we will take a whole lot of steel pipes or rims, we will hide the toy, let the puppy search for his toy without any strict obedience, and once he's put his nose into the rim or in the pipe, we will reward with another toy. So this dog will teach, we will teach this dog that once you focus or concentrate on the odor that we want, we will reward you. So some people use a toy, cut the toy in smaller pieces in different pipes, and then from there add something, for example, rhino horn, slowly take out the toy and then just focus on the rhino horn. Or what you can do, you can put the rhino horn in as the puppy or young dog gets to the steel pipe with the rhino horn or certain substance, you can reward from them. So the dog will learn, if I show a certain behavior, getting to the source, I will get a reward. Well, this sounds much easier than it really is, so that takes a lot of training, daily training, to keep the dog or the puppy happy. Okay, so we will start, like I've said, odor recognition training, hiding the toy in a steel pipe, and the dog will naturally search for the toy. This will be because we did the play drive with the dog, throwing the Kong into the bush, playing with the dog, so he will naturally search for his toy. After the toy search or the imprinting, we will do pattern training. This is very important. We need to teach the dog to search in a certain pattern. For example, from the first to the last pipe. They're not allowed to skip the first or the second pipe. Also levels of searching, from ground level, medium level, and a little bit higher. So the dog will know that when he's, for instance, doing cargo search, it's not only on the floor, it can be higher up. So this dog must be able to use his nose in any heights that we give to him. Proof training. So my dog has been trained, my dog can sit and lie down and do detection, but can your dog do this in a different environment? So proof training will be, once you're happy that your dog is fully trained, you can move to a different area, you can move to the cargo, to the airport, to the reserve where the dog's going to work, and you do your training sessions from there. Once your dog is also giving you the correct behavior there and detecting there, you can almost say that your dog is fully trained. So a small video, how dogs smell. This is very interesting. It's about 4 minutes long. Enjoy.
Hi, Bob. Morning, Kelly. The tulips look great. Have you ever wondered how your dog experiences the world? Here's what she sees. Not terribly interesting. But what she smells, that's a totally different story. And it begins at her wonderfully developed nose. As your dog catches the first hints of fresh air, Her nose's moist, spongy outside helps capture any scents the breeze carries. The ability to smell separately, with each nostril, smelling in stereo, helps to determine the direction of the smell's source, so that within the first few moments of sniffing, the dog starts to become aware of not just what kinds of things are out there, but also where they're located. As air enters the nose, a small fold of tissue divides it into two separate folds, one for breathing and one just for smelling. This second airflow enters a region filled with highly specialized olfactory receptor cells, several hundred millions of them, compared to our 5 million. And unlike our clumsy way of breathing in and out through the same passage, dogs exhale through slits at the side of their nose, creating swirls of air that help draw in new odor molecules and allow odor concentration to build up over multiple sniffs. But all that impressive nasal architecture wouldn't be much help without something to process the loads of information the nose scoops up. And it turns out that the olfactory system, dedicated to processing smells, takes up many times more relative brain area in dogs than in humans. All of this allows dogs to distinguish and remember a staggering variety of specific scents, at concentrations up to 100 million times less than what our noses can detect. If you can smell a spritz of perfume in a small room, a dog would have no trouble smelling it in an enclosed stadium and distinguishing its ingredients to boot. And everything in the street, every passing person or car, any contents of the neighbor's trash, each type of tree, and all the birds and insects in it, has a distinct odor profile telling your dog what it is, where it is, and which direction it's moving in. Besides being much more powerful than ours, a dog's sense of smell can pick up things that can't even be seen at all. A whole separate olfactory system, called the vomeral nasal organ, above the roof of the mouth, detects the hormones all animals, including humans, naturally release. It lets dogs identify potential mates or distinguish between friendly and hostile animals. It alerts them to our various emotional states, and it can even tell them when someone is pregnant or sick. Because olfaction is more primal than other senses, bypassing the thalamus to connect directly to the brain structures involving emotion and instinct, we might even say a dog's perception is more immediate and visceral than ours. But the most amazing thing about your dog's nose is that it can traverse time. The past appears in tracks left by passers-by and by the warmth of a recently parked car, or the residue of where you've been and what you've done recently. Landmarks like fire hydrants and trees are aromatic bulletin boards carrying messages of who's been by, what they've been eating, and how they're feeling. And the future is in the breeze, alerting them to something or someone approaching long before you see them. Where we see and hear something at a single moment, a dog smells an entire story, from start to finish. In some of the best examples of canine-human collaboration, dogs help us by sharing and reacting to those stories. They can respond with kindness to people in distress, or with aggression to threats, because stress and anger manifest as a cloud of hormones recognizable to the dog's nose. With the proper training, they can even alert us to invisible threats, ranging from bombs to cancer. As it turns out, humanity's best friend is not one who experiences the same things we do, but one whose incredible nose reveals a whole other world beyond our eyes.
So that was quite an interesting video. I don't know who of you were aware that dogs don't use all the air that they breathe in, only for their lungs. So that was quite interesting. Hope you also learned something from the video. So we're going to go to the certification process. My dog is trained. Let's see how well my dog is trained. So we will apply to a registered certification body to do a certification. The requirements will be the dog and the handler will get certified as a team. This team should be able to demonstrate several detection exercises and pass the test. So this will be a setup test before the time. Should you be doing cargo searches, we'll do it in cargo, we'll have open areas, we'll have suitcases, wherever your dog's going to be deployed to. So this test has got either a pass or fail, there's no halfway. So once the dog is detecting or indicating the source and you will confirm with the assessor, that it will either pass you or fail you. This is quite a stressful test. It takes some time because some dogs can false indicate, some handlers can not be sure of their dog's body language. So this is quite a stressful test. let's say we pass the test and we are ready to be deployed once you're certified. Okay, so deployment, where will we deploy our dogs? It's been just certified. So we will train the dogs for reserves, airports, points of entry and exit. We can use them at roadblocks, harbors, borders. As you can see on the photo, this dog is doing a cargo search with his handler. Okay. Last but not least, the welfare of our detection dogs. So what do we need to look after our canines? First of all, qualified handlers. So we would like to have qualified handlers working with our dogs. We're going to go slide by slide. So on the first slide, there's our qualified handler looking after our dog. Proper housing and kenneling. So obviously beds don't always work in a kennel environment, but the dogs must be protected against environmental conditions as rain, sun, wind. So they must be safe, not be able to get out of their kennel. If they don't chew the bedding, we can put bedding in for them. At EWT, we are very fortunate to have 24-hour camera monitoring, so we can have a look what our dogs are doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. High quality dog food. Our dogs are doing a very, very important job, especially for the dogs that's doing tracking in the fields, having cover many kilometers. We need a high quality dog food for them to work at the utmost best. Lockdown, fortunately we did not have to use a treadmill on a big property, so the regular training continues every day. Exercise will continue. Our dogs have got lots of space to run. Swimming is a little bit cold. Some of them still like to swim in this weather. But it's very important to upkeep the training of the canine. Veterinary care, we've got an excellent vet taking care of our dogs. So your vaccinations, dewormer, tick and flea must be all up to date to make sure that our canines are doing their job to the best of their ability. Environmental enrichment, it's very important. It's like for the grooming, you groom your dog, you feel through your dog's body, if everything is still okay, there's no funny things there, so if you need to take it to the vet. And also toys to play. We don't leave toys with our dogs in the kennel alone, just for the hazard of choking, but the dog needs to be stimulated if it's not working, not playing and not running. So the grooming, yes, we do bath our dogs, we brush our dogs. It's a very good time for the handler and dog to bond. If he brushes the dog, traveling, we wish all dogs could fly, but going back to the crates again, if the dog is secure in a crate, either in a car or the back of the seat, it's just the best for the dog to travel safe. Okay, so that is me. Any questions go to the Q&A box and I will answer as many as I can. If you want to get hold of me, there's my email. Okay, if you want to get hold of me, there's my email address, and you're more than welcome to send me an email. So there's the first question, how many different scents do you train per dog? Well, that is, I'm going to answer that live. How many varied chunks do you train? That's a very interesting question, Craig. So how many different scents do you train your dog? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type here okay, just verbal answer. Okay, so Craig, so it depends. If we do explosives, there's many different scents that you can do for explosives. I know about some dogs that do up to 14 scents. So it differs from substance to substance. So as you might know, that your explosive dogs is only doing explosives and not narcotics. And the reason for that is narcotic dogs are allowed to scratch when it gets to the source, and explosive dogs are not allowed to scratch when it indicates the source. So different scents. It depends on what source you're going to use. Interesting questions. How many varied samples do you require to train a dog to generalize a species? So we've been talking about that, the rhinos, there's different types of rhinos. So what we normally do, we use a piece of rhino horn, we use rhino shavings, and then so far we haven't had problems in picking up or detecting the rhino. But it's still a very interesting and a very debatable question. What is the dog smelling? Is there, in the DNA between the white, black, male, female rhino? Okay. Okay, can older dogs be trained? 6 or 7 years? Yes, definitely. We've trained a lot of dogs a little bit older, so that is definitely possible. Okay, so excuse me, I think I've just pressed the wrong button. Can older dogs be trained? 6 to 7 years old? Yes, definitely. We've definitely trained dogs up to 10 or 11 years old, so that's not a problem. So what sort of indicators would you use to choose whether a dog is worth training? So I will look at a very high drive, toy drive. I'll also, before I choose my puppy, I will go to do my homework on the bloodlines, and then the genetics. So I want a stable dog, not a nervy dog, and a dog with very high toy drive. That will be the dog that I'll be looking at. How long from a puppy to deployment? Also, we will generally start a puppy at about between 8 months and a year, and then depending on 3 months, 6 months, it normally takes about 3 months to train the dog, but it will also differ from dog to dog. It won't be a set time per dog. It depends on what age you start and what are you doing with this puppy. So I know there's a lot of young dogs being deployed very early. We don't like to push the dogs too early for too much. Some of them can really just shut down if they're being worked too hard. So fairly young, we would preferably do about 18 months, 2 years, they will be deployed. Laura Bonning, so are you aware anyone in South Africa is currently training COVID detection dogs? I know the University of Pretoria is busy working on a scheme, so I'm not aware of a specific dog unit, but I know they are working on it as we speak. Do you need to reinforce scent training during the detection dog's life? Yes. So Jill, what we do is we do a lot of training. So we use the substance that the dog's been trained off in our training exercises continuously. Ronja, bloodhounds, perfect dogs for tracking. They were built for tracking. The nose, the whole feature of the bloodhound is very good on tracking. So I would, if I had a choice between doing a detection and tracking, I would rather use the bloodhound for tracking. I hope this answers your question. So if you've got any more questions, you can always send me an email. Okay, what is the working time span of dogs, Christine? Can they work from youth to old age, or do they get retired early? Depends on dog. We've got a dog here that's almost 10 years old. It can still work. She's very, very eager to work. She's very, not as agile anymore to jump, but her work ethic is there 100%. So there's not a specific cutoff date. Obviously, for the welfare of the dog, first of all, if the dog is physically able, happy doing it, we can continue as long as it's no threat to the dog's health or way of living. Where would you recommend being trained as a handler? Well, you can send me an email. I can give you some references. And also, how does a border collie fare as a scent detection dog? And I can tell you, perfect. They're very, very good. I've met a few people that worked border collies in Afghanistan with mine detection, so they're very, very good in doing detection. Which dog races do you choose? Iris, as I've said on the video, I will use the Malinois, German Shepherd, Labrador, Springer Spaniel, Beagle. There's a whole list of dogs, but that will be my first 4 breeds that I would choose. That's not to say that any other breeds are not can't work, but border collie as well. So there's quite a list of dogs that can do the work. Eleanor, how many dogs do you have in training and how many certified at any one time? Do they socialize with one another? So we've got a lot of dogs in training. They're certified any one time. So once the dog are ready, we will do certification. If it's 2 or 3 or 4 dogs that are ready, they will be all certified with their handlers the same day. And do they socialize with one another? Yes, we do. We've got a young female puppy, so we make time for them to play with the older males. We do make time for the dog just being a dog, playing and having fun, but primarily they are staying on their own in their kennels. They are working dogs, but we don't strictly keep them locked up. Our dogs are actually very fortunate. We've got a very large property where they can run and play and, like I've said, just be a dog. Dig a little bit in the camp, bark a little bit or a lot, and just enjoy the general life. Let me see. Okay. Laura, what happens to the dogs when they are retired? Well, I can say with certainty our EWT dogs, if they're retired, the handler's got the first opportunity to adopt a dog. Should he not or she be able to adopt a dog, we will find a suitable home. We will do a home check. There must be a contract in place and the dog's welfare is first and foremost. Should we not get an appropriate house for the dog will stay on our property where it will be looked after every day amongst all our other dogs. And believe you me, they've got a very, very nice life staying here with us. Okay, so I'm going to do one or two more questions. Kelly, Shadi, how did you get into dog training? Kelly, this is a very, very long story. I've been training dogs for almost 37 years, and the main thing was I got a German Shepherd puppy as a gift as a young person, and it was untrainable, according to me, couldn't walk the dog, pulling me left and right, and I actually saw somebody that had a trained dog, and I asked this lady, please help me, and from there it was a story without any looking back. Trained many dogs in many disciplines, and still love working with dogs. Iris, this chat will be available on YouTube, and you can also send me an email and I will send you the link from there. Okay, so I think we're done for now. For the rest of the questions that I couldn't answer, please send me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Goodbye.